Hey everyone, it's Melinda with Tailored and Teal, and welcome back to another What Sold video. These are sales on Poshmark, Mercari, and eBay from July 16th through July 31st of 2024. So if this is any indication of how my life is going lately, I just recorded at least a 5-minute speech and some of my sales, and I didn't hit record on my phone. So here we are again. If you've been following my reselling career and my YouTube channel for several years, you will know that I am all about full transparency. And I'm going to tell you now, I did not have a lot of sales these past 2 weeks, but there are a few factors that go into that. Number one, summer slowdown. It is real. It happens. I'm not blaming any platforms or anything like that. I am simply stating that people are out enjoying their lives, on vacations. People are spending more money on fun summer activities than they are shopping online, so that is to be expected. And number two, grief has hit me a little harder than what I was expecting it. And the tricky thing about grief is that when you think you're going to have a good day, one tiny little thing can remind you of your loved one that's passed, and the whole dam breaks, essentially. I've also been dealing with a lot of stress from my corporate 8 to 2 Monday through Friday job. So I've been kind of dealing and maneuvering through that along with grief of my mother. So things have been a bit tough, which leads me to not really want to do anything. I have not been in the mindset of reselling. I hope to be someday, but for right now, I'm lucky if I get maybe 10 items listed a week. So while I am getting very minimal sales, I am thankful for those sales and that they are still coming in, but just wanted to give you that transparency of I haven't been feeling myself, and reselling has kind of been put on the back burner. I am not quitting reselling. I am very proud of the business I've created, my YouTube channel, my dear followers, everybody who watches my Instagram stories, even if it's not about reselling. So I do not want to give that up. And I've also been kind of pivoting around changes in my life. None of them have happened yet, but I'm evaluating at the moment. When you go through such a traumatic experience like I went through with my mom, I'm not going to get into what those traumatic experiences were, but let's just say that they were terrible. And I'm now dealing with all of the aftershocks of those traumatic experiences. And one thing that happens is that you start to evaluate your own life. And it makes you question things in your life, whether they're worth it, worth the stress, worth the anguish, or you realize that life is too short and you don't really want to deal with those things. So I am currently in that evaluating phase in my grief journey, I guess you could call it. So no, I'm not quitting reselling. I'm still going. I just haven't really been in the mood to do it. So with all that being said, let's move on to the sales that I did have, because again, I am very thankful that I'm still getting sales, even if they are pretty minimal. I did have one sale on Mercari. It was a new turquoise beaded F initial monogram chain link necklace. This came out of my via trading Amazon jewelry lot. It sold for $10. Because there are no fees for these sellers on Mercari anymore, my net profit was $10. Next up on Poshmark, where I only had 2 sales. This was interesting though, because the last one that I had was on July 15th, and it was that amazing Everlane duffel bag. If you haven't watched the last What Sold video, I'll put a link up here. It was a fantastic sale. And my next sale on Poshmark wasn't until 11 or 12 days later on July 28th. So I don't know what was going on Poshmark during that time, but as a result, I only had the 2 sales. So the first sale on Poshmark was a vintage ivory colored mini faux pearl beaded cord lariat necklace or belt. This thing could have been worn several different ways: as a necklace wrapped around your neck, knotted as a necklace, or even as a belt. And in fact, this did come from my Shop Goodwill belt unboxing. So it sold for $9 with no discounted shipping. And then the last sale was a blouse that came from a mystery box from a random company that I found online that I do not recommend. So it was a loft jungle wrap back floral rayon moderately cropped blouse. This was thankfully in very good condition. It was 100% rayon. It had this really cool V wrap look on the back, and it had this really pretty pink floral overall pattern. And it sold for $20, which was my full asking price, and there was no discounted shipping. So of my 2 Poshmark sales, I had $29 in sales, $6.95 in fees. I had no shipping discounts this time, giving me a profit of $22.05. Next, moving on to eBay, where I had 10 sales. The first sale was one of the oldest things in my closet and stores, and I was so happy when it sold. I actually think I might have done a little dance or like a little squeal, like, finally it's gone. If you've had an item in your closet for years and years and years, you know how this feels. So this was a US Polo Association heathered gray thin knit swing long sleeve blouse. So when I say swing, it wasn't form-fitting or oversized. The bottom of the sweater actually kind of flared out a little bit, so it was a looser fit than normal. This came in a mystery box of items from another reseller, I think probably on Mercari. That's where I got a lot of my items from when I first started reselling. And it finally sold for $8.49. And if I could give any one piece of advice to any new resellers out there, do not buy mystery boxes from other resellers, because half the time it's the stuff that they haven't sold themselves. Therefore, they're just passing it along to somebody else to sell. Not saying there isn't an audience for those particular items, but any mystery box that I've had from back when I first started reselling, I still have and are barely selling. So try to avoid them if you can. The next item was the limited blue and white paisley printed side tie sheath dress. This was a size extra small, a perfect career dress, and it sold for $10. Next up is a pair of unbranded shoes that came from a ThredUp rescue box. They were a pair of navy blue glossy patent pointed toe block heel slingback heels. They were a size 8.5. It's not often that I list unbranded items, but I thought that these had a lot going for them with the glossy patent faux leather. I don't think it was actually leather. And the navy blue. It was just a very classic style. And they sold for $12. Next up is a vintage creamy yellow fabric woven adjustable belt. This was 37.5 inches in total length, but was very adjustable to any waist. It definitely had that 80s or 90s look to it, and it sold for $8.75. Next up is a vintage Homeco number 5412. This was teddy bears nativity set scene with animals, and they were all porcelain. There were only 10 pieces. I do believe, based off of my research, I was missing a couple of pieces, but this was a free to me item, so it came with what it came with, and it sold for $16.99, which was my full asking price with my 15% off sale that I am always running on eBay. Next up is a pair of Gloria Vanderbilt Amanda Bermuda rolled cuff stretch jean shorts. They were a size 14. These were also free to me, and they sold for $10.50. Next up was a Jaffna off-the-shoulder smocked chest ditzy dark floral blouse. It was a size medium. It did have a peplum waist. This came out of my America's Thrift Supply micro bale, and it sold for $10.25. Next up is a vintage The American Nation Yesterday and Today book. This was from the 1930s, and it was in really, really nice condition. It sold for $10.19, which was my full asking price with my 15% off sale, and this was a free to me item. Next up is a Premier Designs natural shell mother of pearl beaded necklace. I put the keywords coastal and neutral in there, and it sold for $10.19. And the last sale on eBay was a handmade patchwork quilt. This quilt was actually in my family for several years. I slept with this quilt on many occasions. However, it had some condition issues. It was ripping at some of the seams on the underside, so all of the the filling or the batting inside was kind of coming out. There were stains, there were holes. Like, this thing was very well loved and well used. I do believe it was handcrafted from family members in my family. I'm just not sure which ones. So I listed it as is. It was an orange patchwork star pattern quilt for crafting or repurposing or upcycling. It was 91 by 67 inches, so it was a relatively larger quilt. And this sold in less than 12 hours for $17. I listed it at $19.99. By the time I had woken up, I already had about 3 watchers on this item, so I sent a $17 offer and someone instantly accepted it and paid, and it went all the way to Kansas. So I am hoping that they're able to repurpose with this because I absolutely just love the pattern and the colors were fantastic as well. So of my 10 eBay sales, I had $114.36 in sales. I made a shipping profit of $19.75. There were $30.38 in fees, giving me a total profit of $103.73. And my average sales price for each item that sold was $11.44. And now moving on to my total numbers on Poshmark, Mercari, and eBay from July 16th through July 31st of 2024. I had a total of 13 sales. I had $153.36 in sales, $17.58 in fees. My cost of goods was $24.55, giving me a total profit of $111.23, and my average cost of goods per each item that sold was $1.89. That's mostly because I sold a lot of jewelry, which my cost of goods is always lower, and I also sold a lot of free to me items. So even though I had very minimal sales, I am happy to make a profit at all, honestly. That concludes this video for the last 2 weeks of sales in July of 2024. At some point in the future, there will be different types of videos. It's just that these what sold videos are really all I can get up right now. I did recently have a follower ask if I would do another What is eBay Talking About video, which I am happy to oblige. I actually really enjoyed making those videos, but unfortunately they didn't get a lot of views, mostly because thrift hauls and what sold videos were the gold in the reselling YouTube community. I have started the research for those types of videos. I just have to be in the mood and the mindset in order to sit down and actually record them. So look forward to that. Not sure when, but eventually new videos are coming. Thank you again for watching. I appreciate your patience through all of this, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!